How to succeed without confidence, motivation, or healing. You don't need confidence to begin. You don't need motivation to move. You don't even need to be healed to succeed. What you need is the courage to act despite it all. Confidence doesn't appear magically before action. It's built through action. Every time you take a step forward while doubting yourself, you're teaching your mind that you can trust your own effort. The truth is, confidence is not a feeling. It's evidence. Evidence that you've faced fear before and survived. That's why waiting to feel ready is a trap. The moment you start, even while afraid, is the moment you begin to rewrite your story. Motivation is beautiful, but unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. If you depend on motivation to take action, your growth will always be inconsistent. Success belongs to those who build systems, structures that make action a non-negotiable habit, not a mood-dependent choice. The most disciplined people don't wake up every day inspired, they wake up committed. They understand that momentum doesn't come from emotion. It comes from motion. It's the simple, repetitive, unglamorous acts of consistency that create unstoppable progress. And healing, oh, that's the biggest illusion of all. We've been told that before we can truly succeed, we must fix every wound, heal every scar, and silence every voice of pain. But what if your pain isn't your weakness, but your teacher? What if healing doesn't have to be finished before you move forward? You can be broken and still rise. You can hurt and still achieve. You can cry and still continue. Healing isn't a destination. It's a lifelong process that happens through your growth, not before it. You don't wait to heal before taking action. You heal because you took action. Discipline is your anchor when emotions fluctuate. You won't always feel good, and that's okay. Discipline means showing up even when you don't want to. It's the ability to move forward without permission from your feelings. Success doesn't come from doing extraordinary things once. It comes from doing ordinary things consistently. You may not have the energy, but you have the choice. And that choice repeated daily is what builds unshakable strength. Finally, understand this: progress creates power. Stop waiting for confidence, chase progress instead. Each small step forward, no matter how insignificant it seems, creates a ripple of belief inside you. You start realizing that you are capable, even when you feel incapable. Success without confidence is possible because action creates momentum, and momentum changes identity. One day, you'll look back and realize you didn't need to feel healed, confident, or motivated to win. You just needed to start. So stop waiting for the perfect mindset. Stop waiting to believe in yourself. Start acting, even when your hands shake, even when your heart doubts, even when your past still hurts. Because greatness doesn't belong to those who feel ready. It belongs to those who move anyway. You can succeed without confidence. You can succeed without motivation. You can succeed without being fully healed. All you need to do is start, again and again, until your actions make your doubts irrelevant. Motivation action comes before confidence. The secret to succeeding: when you don't feel ready, everyone wants to feel confident before they begin. But the truth is, confidence doesn't come first. Action does. The biggest misconception that stops people from moving forward is believing that they must believe in themselves before taking the first step. That mindset keeps millions of dreams locked in hesitation. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you earn through proof. Every time you act despite your fear, every time you step forward while feeling unsure, you build evidence that you are capable. And that evidence slowly transforms into confidence. Think of it this way: you don't become confident to speak by reading about it. You become confident by speaking again and again, even when your voice shakes. Confidence is not a gift, it's a byproduct of repetition, action, and resilience. When people say they don't feel confident enough to start something new, what they really mean is that they don't trust themselves yet. That lack of trust comes from inaction. You cannot think your way into trust. You must act your way into it. The first step is always uncomfortable because your mind hasn't yet seen the proof that you can handle it. That discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's an invitation to grow. Confidence lives on the other side of uncertainty. You must be willing to step into the unknown and fail forward. Failure doesn't destroy confidence. It builds it. Every mistake you survive becomes a piece of evidence that you can handle what comes your way. Every setback you overcome strengthens your self-belief. Waiting for confidence before taking action is like waiting to get strong before you start exercising. You gain strength by starting, not by waiting. The same goes for confidence. It's built through experience, not imagination. You can read every book on confidence, watch every motivational video, and repeat every affirmation. But nothing will replace the feeling of actually doing the thing that scares you. The first step might be small, messy, and uncertain, but it's the only way to start creating momentum. The most confident people you see, speakers, leaders, creators, entrepreneurs, were once terrified beginners. The difference is, they acted while being scared. They used fear as fuel instead of letting it become a full stop. Or healing. When people say they don't feel confident enough to start something new, what they really mean is that they don't trust themselves yet. That lack of trust comes from inaction. You cannot think your way into trust. You must act your way into it. The first step is always uncomfortable because your mind hasn't yet seen the proof that you can handle it. That discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's an invitation to grow. Confidence lives on the other side of uncertainty. You must be willing to step into the unknown and fail forward. Failure doesn't destroy confidence, it builds it. Every mistake you survive becomes a piece of evidence that you can handle what comes your way. Every setback you overcome strengthens your self-belief. Waiting for confidence before taking action is like waiting to get strong before you start exercising. You gain strength by starting, not by waiting. The same goes for confidence. It's built through experience, not imagination. You can read every book on confidence, watch every motivational video, and repeat every affirmation. But nothing will replace the feeling of actually doing the thing that scares you. The first step might be small, messy, and uncertain, but it's the only way to start creating momentum. The most confident people you see, speakers, leaders, creators, entrepreneurs, were once terrified beginners. The difference is, they acted while being scared. They used fear as fuel instead of letting it become a full stop. The truth is, confidence is not the absence of fear, it's the ability to move forward despite it. Fear is natural. It's your mind's way of protecting you from the unknown. But what your mind calls danger is often just discomfort. And growth lives in that discomfort. If you wait for the moment when fear disappears, you'll wait forever. You must teach your brain through repetition that fear doesn't mean stop. It simply means step carefully, but move forward. Over time, as you expose yourself to what once scared you, it loses its power. What was once terrifying becomes familiar, and what was once impossible becomes routine. That's how confidence grows. Through exposure, through small wins, and through persistence. Another powerful truth about confidence is that it doesn't always look loud or bold. Real confidence is quiet. It's not about shouting or pretending to have it all together. It's about the calm assurance that you can figure things out even when you don't have all the answers. You don't need to know everything to start. You just need to start. Clarity comes from doing, not thinking. Every action you take gives you feedback, and that feedback guides you toward improvement. The longer you stay in motion, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more confident you become. Perfectionism is one of the biggest killers of confidence. So many people never start because they're waiting to be perfect. They're afraid of looking foolish, of making mistakes, of not being good enough. But perfection doesn't create confidence. Progress does. The moment you stop demanding perfection and start allowing yourself to be a beginner, you unlock growth. Every expert was once a beginner who dared to look imperfect in public. They stumbled, learned, and kept moving. That's what builds unshakable confidence. Not avoiding mistakes, but embracing them as part of the process. The real secret to building confidence is keeping promises to yourself. When you say you'll do something, and you follow through, your brain learns to trust you. When you break your own promises, that trust erodes. Each time you act on your word, no matter how small, you reinforce your self-belief. Confidence is not built in giant leaps. It's built in small, consistent wins. It's built in early mornings when you show up, in difficult conversations you choose to face, in uncomfortable moments you choose not to run from. Every time you honor your word, you become stronger inside. So, if you're waiting to feel confident before starting something, stop waiting. Start acting. Take the smallest possible step today. Speak even when your voice shakes, show up even when you're unsure, and try even when you're scared to fail. Let action lead the way, and let confidence follow behind it. Remember, the people who appear most confident are not fearless. They've simply practiced being uncomfortable more than others. They've trained their minds to act first and feel confident later. Confidence is not a starting point, it's a reward. It's what you earn by showing up repeatedly, by failing and getting back up, by proving to yourself that you are capable of growth. You don't need to feel confident to take action, you need to take action to feel confident. So stop waiting for the perfect moment, because it will never come. The right moment is now. Step forward, take the risk, embrace the discomfort, and watch as your confidence catches up to your courage. Motivation is unreliable. Systems are not. We often wait for motivation to strike before taking action, believing that once we feel inspired, we'll finally start changing our lives. But motivation is fleeting. It's emotional fuel, powerful but unpredictable. One day you wake up ready to conquer the world, and the next day you can barely get out of bed. That's because motivation depends on mood, and mood depends on countless external factors: sleep, stress, weather, emotions, and even other people's energy. If your progress depends on how you feel, then your results will always be inconsistent. The truth is simple: those who rely on motivation stay stuck. Those who build systems move forward, regardless of emotion. Systems are what make success predictable. They take your goals out of the hands of inspiration and put them into the structure of discipline. Motivation is like a spark. It ignites quickly, burns brightly, but fades fast. Systems are like engines. They keep running even when the spark is gone. Think about it. How many times have you felt inspired after watching a motivational video or reading an empowering quote, only to lose that fire a few days later? That's because motivation excites the mind, but it doesn't train the body. It's emotional, not practical. Systems, on the other hand, remove the need for emotion altogether. They create routines, habits, and structures that make progress automatic. When your day is built around systems, specific times, environments, and rules, you no longer need to wake up and decide whether you feel like working. You just do it because it's part of who you are. The most successful people in any field, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, leaders, are not constantly motivated. They've simply built lives that don't depend on motivation to function. They've learned that success is not about doing what you love when you feel like it. It's about doing what matters, especially when you don't. A world-class athlete doesn't rely on hype to train every day. They rely on systems, scheduled routines, strict diets, daily repetitions. They show up regardless of mood. Their identity is tied to the process, not the feeling. That's the secret. If you make the process your anchor, motivation becomes irrelevant. Systems protect you from your weaker moments. They remove decision fatigue, which is one of the main reasons people fail to stay consistent. Every time you have to decide whether to act, your brain looks for excuses. But if your actions are systemized, if you've already decided in advance what you'll do, when, and how, your emotions can't interfere. You eliminate the option of procrastination. For example, instead of saying, "I'll exercise when I feel motivated," you systemize it. "I exercise at 7 a.m., no matter what." That simple shift takes the emotional debate out of the equation. You don't ask yourself if you feel like doing it. You simply do it because it's on the system. Over time, this turns into identity. You no longer see yourself as someone who trees. To be consistent, you become someone who is consistent. Motivation gives you a reason to start, but systems give you a way to continue. It's not that motivation is bad, it's just unreliable. It's a spark meant to ignite your journey, not sustain it. The problem is, most people stop when that spark fades. They assume something is wrong with them. They think, "I lost my motivation, so maybe I'm not cut out for this." But that's false. You didn't fail because you lost motivation. You failed because you didn't have a system to fall back on when motivation disappeared. Systems act as your safety net. They carry you through the low energy days when your emotions try to talk you out of doing what you know you must. Another truth about systems is that they create freedom, not restriction. Many people resist structure because they think it limits them, but in reality, structure gives you more freedom. Freedom from indecision, from stress, and from emotional ups and downs. When your schedule is clear, your mind is calm. You know what needs to be done, and you do it. Systems turn chaos into clarity. They simplify your life so you can focus on execution, not excuses. And once you start seeing results from those systems, the sense of pride and stability they bring becomes its own form of motivation. Let's face it, feelings are fickle. One bad mood, one stressful event, or one sleepless night can derail an entire week of progress if you depend on motivation. But when you operate by systems, your progress becomes non-negotiable. You don't skip because you don't feel like it. You show up because it's part of your design. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't wait to feel inspired to do it. You do it because it's a daily habit. Imagine if you treated your goals with the same discipline, not as options, but as standards. That's when consistency transforms into excellence. Building systems doesn't have to be complicated. Start small. Choose one area of your life, maybe your health, business, or mindset, and create a simple routine that eliminates choice. For instance, if your goal is to write every day, set a time, a place, and a word count, and do it no matter what. If your goal is to exercise, schedule it at a specific time and prepare your clothes the night before. The easier you make the start, the harder it becomes to make excuses. And once the habit is formed, it becomes second nature. That's the power of systems. They turn discipline into default behavior. Ultimately, success doesn't belong to those who are the most inspired. It belongs to those who are the most consistent. Motivation is the spark that gets you moving, but systems are the engine that keeps you going. You won't always feel good. You won't always feel confident, but you can always stick to your system. And that's what separates achievers from dreamers. One waits for the perfect feeling, the other acts through imperfect feelings. Build systems that serve your vision, and you'll never again need to wait for motivation to find you. You'll already be in motion, and momentum will take care of the rest. You don't need to be healed to be effective, turning pain into power. We live in a world that constantly tells us we must heal first, before we chase our dreams, love deeply, or build something meaningful. But the truth is, you don't have to be completely healed to be effective. You don't have to wait until every wound is closed or every scar is invisible. Healing is not a prerequisite for success. It's a journey that happens alongside it. You can move forward while still hurting. You can make progress while still processing. You can create beauty from your brokenness. Waiting until you feel whole before you take action is one of the greatest forms of self-sabotage, because healing isn't a final destination. It's a lifelong evolution. Many people delay their growth because they've been made to believe that until they fix everything within themselves, they are not ready. But that belief keeps you trapped in waiting mode. The truth is, no one is ever fully healed. Every person walking this planet carries emotional scars, insecurities, and unspoken fears. The difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is simple. Some choose to act despite their wounds. They don't let their pain define their limits. They use it as fuel to push forward. Pain doesn't have to paralyze you. It can be the reason you rise. Healing is not about erasing pain. It's about learning to function with it. It's about carrying your wounds with wisdom instead of shame. Some of the most powerful, inspiring people you know didn't wait until their hearts were whole. They turned their brokenness into purpose. They turned their trauma into testimony. Think about it. Your pain gives you perspective, empathy, and depth that comfort never could. It teaches you strength through struggle and courage through chaos. That's why your wounds don't disqualify you. They qualify you. They give you something real to offer the world, not perfection, but truth. The idea that we must heal before we act often comes from a misunderstanding of what healing really means. People imagine it as a clean, final state of peace where everything makes sense. But real healing is messy. It's not linear. Some days you feel strong and free. Other days you revisit old wounds. But even in that chaos you can still move. Healing happens through movement, not stillness. Every time you show up, every time you create, every time you choose to keep going, you are healing. You are teaching your soul that pain doesn't control your destiny. Waiting to be healed before acting is like waiting for the rain to stop before learning to dance. You'll miss life's rhythm while waiting for perfect conditions that may never come. The truth is, life doesn't pause for you to catch your breath. It moves, and so must you. The beauty is, action itself is healing. When you take steps toward your goals, you shift your focus from pain to purpose. Purpose gives your suffering meaning. It transforms what hurt you into something that helps others. That's how many great leaders, artists, and change-makers were born, not from comfort, but from the decision to use pain as a platform for impact. You might be carrying heartbreak, regret, or emotional exhaustion. You might feel like you're too broken to begin again. But remember, pain is not proof that you're weak. It's proof that you've cared deeply, tried courageously, and lived fully. The most beautiful things grow from broken soil. The cracks in your soul don't make you less, they make you real. And when you choose to move forward while carrying those cracks, you become unstoppable. Because nothing, not fear, not failure, not heartbreak, can stop someone who has learned to work with their pain instead of running from it. Being healed doesn't mean being free from emotion, it means being free within it. It's when your sadness no longer dictates your decisions, and your fear no longer owns your future. That strength doesn't come from endless self-analysis. It comes from movement, from courage, from doing what needs to be done, even when you're not okay. The paradox is that by acting while you're still healing, you accelerate your healing. You give yourself proof that you can live, create, and succeed even while feeling imperfect. Every step you take reminds your inner wounds that they no longer control you. Some people think they must be emotionally peaceful to achieve success, but real growth happens in tension. It happens when you show up in the middle of your chaos and still give your best. That's what makes your journey meaningful. Not that you had everything figured out, but that you kept showing up when everything felt uncertain. You don't need to wait until your heart stops aching to chase your goals. You don't need to have perfect mental clarity to create something beautiful. You just need to start with what you have, where you are, and who you are. Pain can be your greatest source of purpose if you let it. Every scar can remind you that you survived something that once felt impossible. That survival itself is your power. Your pain can make you more compassionate, more grounded, and more resilient. Instead of asking, when will I be healed enough to begin? Ask, how can I begin while I'm healing? Because the moment you start moving forward, you're already healing. You're proving to yourself that your past no longer defines your potential. You don't have to be the perfect version of yourself to be effective. You don't need to have everything in order to make a difference. The world doesn't need your perfection. It needs your authenticity. It needs people who show up with their imperfections, who speak from their scars, who lead with their humanity. You can still achieve greatness while healing. You can still build something meaningful while carrying pain. Healing is not the destination. It's the companion on your journey. So don't wait for permission from your past. Step into your purpose now. Your pain doesn't disqualify you from success. It prepares you for it. Discipline outlasts emotion, the unshakable key to success. There will be days when you wake up inspired, full of energy, ready to take on the world. And then there will be days when you wake up tired, unmotivated, or completely disconnected from your goals. Those are the moments that define who you really are. Because success isn't built on the days you feel great. It's built on the days you don't, but show up anyway. Discipline is what bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Motivation is fleeting. It's a spark that comes and goes. But discipline is the engine that keeps you moving when every emotion tells you to stop. The people who achieve greatness are not the ones who always feel ready. They're the ones who act even when they don't. Discipline outlasts emotion because emotion is temporary, but commitment is eternal. We live in a world obsessed with feelings. Feeling motivated, feeling confident, feeling inspired. But feelings are unreliable. They fluctuate based on circumstances you can't always control. One argument, one setback, or one bad day can completely drain your emotional energy. If your actions are tied to how you feel, you'll never build momentum. That's why discipline matters more than emotion. It keeps you anchored when the storms come. Discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. It's not glamorous. It's not always exciting, but it's the foundation of every success story ever told. Discipline isn't about perfection or punishment. It's about consistency. It's about showing up day after day, not because you feel like it, but because you said you would. That's how trust in yourself is built. Not through inspiration, but through integrity. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small one, you strengthen that inner trust, and over time, that trust becomes your confidence. Discipline says, I will act, no matter how I feel. It's the ultimate form of self-respect. When you live with discipline, you stop being a slave to emotion. You start living by principles instead of moods. Think about the difference between the person who works out only when motivated and the person who trains every morning. No matter what, the first person relies on emotional highs, the second person relies on structure. Over time, the results are clear. The emotional person burns out quickly because their progress depends on how they feel. The disciplined person builds momentum because they've made consistency their identity. Success isn't about massive action once in a while. It's about small, steady actions repeated over time. That's what discipline creates: predictability, stability, and progress, even when emotions fluctuate. Emotions are loud, persuasive, and often misleading. They can convince you that you're too tired, too stressed, too late, or too unprepared. But discipline silences that noise. Discipline is the quiet voice that says, do it anyway. It doesn't argue with fear, it acts through it. It doesn't wait for the right moment, it creates it. And ironically, once you take action, your emotions begin to shift. You feel better after doing the thing you didn't feel like doing. That's the secret. Discipline changes your emotions, not the other way around. The act of showing up consistently transforms how you feel about yourself, your goals, and your capabilities. The most successful people are not superhuman. They feel the same fear, doubt, and exhaustion as everyone else. The only difference is that they've trained themselves not to depend on emotion. They've built routines so strong that their actions happen automatically, whether they feel like it or not. That's the beauty of discipline. It creates freedom. It removes the daily decision-making battle between what you want to do and what you should do. When your routine is non-negotiable, you conserve energy for what truly matters. That's how discipline gives you power. It eliminates hesitation and replaces it with certainty. Many people misunderstand discipline. They think it means rigidity or self-punishment. But true discipline is an act of love. It's love for your future self. It's saying, I respect my dreams enough to act even when I don't feel like it. It's showing up for yourself again and again until progress becomes your new normal. Discipline teaches you emotional maturity, the ability to act independently of your current state of mind. It helps you detach from excuses and attach to results. Because when you're disciplined, you no longer ask, do I feel like it? You simply say, it's time. Discipline also builds resilience. Life will always test your consistency, through pain, failure, or uncertainty. But discipline keeps you grounded when life shakes you. It gives you structure when everything feels chaotic. When emotions rise and fall like waves, discipline is the anchor that holds you steady. It keeps you focused when your mind wanders, and it keeps you moving when your motivation fades. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you grow stronger, not just mentally, but emotionally and spiritually. You begin to see that you are in control, not your moods, not your circumstances. And here's the beautiful irony: the more disciplined you become, the more freedom you feel. Freedom from procrastination, from regret, from inconsistency. Discipline liberates you from the endless cycle of starting and stopping. It gives you direction, purpose, and progress. It's not about restriction. It's about alignment. It aligns your actions with your vision, regardless of how you feel. When you live by discipline, you live with clarity. You stop waiting for a feeling to guide you because you already have a standard guiding you. So remember this: discipline will take you where emotion never could. Emotion fades, discipline remains. Emotion makes promises, discipline delivers results. Anyone can start when they're inspired. But the real test is what you do when you're not. When you show up tired, discouraged, or uninspired and still do the work, that's when transformation happens. Because discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about being persistent. It's about doing what you said you'd do, long after the excitement has worn off. Success doesn't belong to those who feel like working every day. It belongs to those who work every day, regardless of feeling. So the next time your emotions try to convince you to stop, remind yourself, I am not my feelings. I am my actions. Feelings come and go, but discipline stays. It's the unshakable key to every form of greatness. Progress creates power. How small wins build unstoppable confidence. We often wait for confidence before we start, thinking that belief will give us the strength to move. But the truth is the opposite. It's progress that creates confidence. It's not confidence that fuels progress. It's progress that fuels confidence. Every small step forward, no matter how minor it seems, creates a ripple effect that builds power from within. You don't need to feel strong to begin. You become strong through beginning. The people who seem unstoppable aren't necessarily the most confident. They're the most consistent. They understand that movement, not motivation, is the source of personal power. Progress, even when it's imperfect, changes everything. It gives you proof that you can grow, proof that you can adapt, and proof that you can trust yourself. And that proof is what transforms doubt into confidence. The most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is that we must feel powerful to take action. But power doesn't precede action. It follows it. The very act of doing something you once thought you couldn't is what creates the inner strength you're looking for. Think about the first time you tried something new. You were nervous, uncertain, maybe even afraid. But once you did it, even if you weren't perfect, you felt a surge of strength. That wasn't because you suddenly became more capable. It was because you proved to yourself that you could take action despite fear. That's the formula for confidence proof through progress. Each time you act, you gather evidence that you're capable. And the more evidence you collect, the more unshakable your belief in yourself becomes. Progress doesn't need to be massive. In fact, small progress is often the most powerful because it's sustainable. Big, dramatic efforts can burn out fast, but small, consistent steps build momentum that lasts. When you take one small action every day, even when you don't feel ready, you teach yourself that you can rely on you. That's the essence of power. Self-trust. The person who trusts themselves can handle anything, because no matter what happens, they know they'll keep going. You don't need to change your entire life overnight. You just need to commit to one small step today, because progress compounds. A single action repeated daily becomes a habit, and habits become identity. When progress becomes part of your identity, confidence becomes automatic. Too many people paralyze themselves by focusing on the gap between where they are and where they want to be. They look so far ahead that the distance feels impossible to cross. But when you focus on progress, on just getting 1% better each day, that impossible goal suddenly becomes achievable. You can't control how fast you grow, but you can control whether you move. Progress doesn't demand perfection, it demands presence. Just keep showing up. Some days you'll move fast, other days you'll crawl, but as long as you keep going, you're still advancing. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. When you make progress your priority, failure loses its power over you. You stop fearing mistakes because you realize that even mistakes move you forward. Every failed attempt teaches you something that standing still never could. Each challenge you overcome becomes part of your power base. You begin to see that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a necessary ingredient. Progress reframes failure as feedback. Instead of asking, "Did I win?" you start asking, "What did I learn?" And that shift in perspective transforms frustration into fuel. The moment you start learning instead of judging, you start growing. The beauty of progress is that it creates emotional momentum. When you see even a little bit of improvement, your brain rewards you with motivation to continue. That's how progress becomes power. It ignites a cycle of self-belief. You act, you progressed, you feel capable, you act more. And before you know it, Your identity shifts from someone who tries to someone who achieves. The smallest progress can rebuild confidence faster than years of waiting for motivation. If you want to change your life, stop waiting to feel ready. Start creating results, no matter how small. Each win, no matter how minor, adds weight to your confidence. Progress also protects you from comparison. When you focus on small, measurable improvements in your own journey, you stop caring how far others are. You realize your only competition is your past self. You stop asking, am I as good as them? And start asking, am I better than I was yesterday? That mindset is what keeps you grounded and focused. Comparison drains power, progress builds it. Every little victory strengthens your sense of direction and makes you less dependent on external validation. Because when you know you're improving, you no longer need anyone else to tell you you're doing well. You can feel it. True power doesn't come from perfection or from achieving a final goal. It comes from realizing that you're capable of adapting, learning, and overcoming at every stage. The moment you see yourself making progress, you start trusting your potential more than your past. That's when fear starts losing its grip. You realize that you don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take the next step. Every step forward brings clarity, and clarity brings courage. Confidence is built through repetition, through progress that accumulates quietly, day after day, until one day you look back and realize how far you've come. Progress is more than movement, it's transformation. It doesn't just change what you can do, it changes how you see yourself. Each bit of progress reshapes your identity from the inside out. You stop identifying with weakness and start embodying strength. You stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I can learn. You stop needing external validation because your results become your validation. And that's real power, the kind that can't be taken away because it's built from within. So stop waiting for motivation, healing, or confidence to appear before you start. Start where you are, do what you can, celebrate every inch of progress, because each step, no matter how small, carries you closer to the life you want. Remember, you don't climb mountains in one leap. You do it one step at a time. The magic isn't in reaching the top. It's in realizing that every step upward makes you stronger. Progress creates power because progress creates belief, and when you believe in your ability to grow, there is nothing you can't achieve.